Welcome everybody. This is the $1 Billion Deals, and we're going to be talking about the winner's cruise, among a lot of other things. My guest today has a master's degree in tax and financial planning, and she's owned multiple businesses, consulted with international companies, and knows just about every aspect of business. And she has a second degree black belt in karate, so I'm going to be very careful as I go through this particular interview. She's a certified public accountant. She's a personal financial specialist. She's a certified joint venture and strategic alliance specialist. She's a certified behavior and motivators trainer. She's a certified money coach. It just goes on and on and on. We're really, really happy to have Angie Grainger with us today. Hey, Angie, how are you doing?
Hey, great. It's good to be here.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your background and how did you become so good at karate?
Awesome. Thank you so much. You know, my background comes not from the traditional road like most CPAs take from, you know, the big league Ivy schools to being able to, you know, set this pathway that was nice and easy. Not me. My pathway was a little bit rough and rocky along the way. And part of that ended up when I was 29 years old, where I completely bottomed out in drugs and alcohol and violence and just said enough. And I was determined to find the fire for living and completely transform my life from kegers on the river and biker parties to cocktail parties up at the golf club with my, you know, white BMW and my Dockers, right? And so in that process of that transformation, I found karate and I found martial arts. And that gave me the structure and the discipline to learn how to do life in a way that doesn't allow me to quit when things get hard or run away, you know, into some other vice when things get hard. And so as soon as I found it, I fell in love with it.
How neat. So tell us a little bit about what you do now.
So now I'm known as the money finder, right? So this is what I do. I'm always finding people money. For what? Well, really to help them live their best life. And we look at advanced tax strategies. We look at how are you missing opportunities in your business to either make more money or save more money, all the way from helping people find that financial freedom by going up the ladder of required steps, really, to find true financial freedom and live your best life. See, one of the things that came from my background and my story was money was always an excuse for not actually living a full life. And I would tell my kids, just like my parents told me, I can't afford it, I can't afford it, I can't afford it, when we're spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on drugs and alcohol and cigarettes, right? And so that pain of disappointing my family over and over again by lying to myself and using money as an excuse for staying stuck in a life of misery, that when I came out of that I just don't have any tolerance for it anymore, because every day is worth fully living and money does not have to be in the way of doing that. And so now I'm really passionate about helping people find the money by getting their act together, by opening their eyes, and by really looking at their numbers in their business and in their personal life to be able to find the opportunities to actually get them to make that path, take that path toward their ideal life.
I think that's really brilliant, and I think you're absolutely right. We don't pay attention to our money and our energy in many ways, and the result of that, of course, is it just slips through our fingers on all sorts of things that are just not necessary. So what you're doing, yeah, I think, is very important work.
Thank you. Yes. And, you know, now I focus a lot on taxes and financial planning first. I tell you, because, you know, everybody needs their taxes done, right? And nobody wants to pay taxes or more taxes than their share. And so it's always my gift to people to take a look at their last year's tax returns and to look at going through my Money Finder audit as a complimentary gift, because that is very quickly, I can tell very quickly by talking with someone just in a few minutes where they're leaking money or where they're missing opportunities. And we can very quickly get an action plan in place that can really help people get on that start. So sometimes when you don't have an urgency for looking at your investments, so you don't have an urgency for making sure your income is protected, you definitely have an urgency when it comes to saving taxes. And so, I have a master's in tax, like you said, so there, it's definitely there and available to help people at least use the best strategies possible to help them save, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes.
I have a question, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but how many pages is the tax law?
Oh, I don't even know how many. It's not even a thing that's a page, because here's the thing. There's one tax rule, right? Number one, Code Section 61 says everything is taxable, period, right?
Yeah.
I'm making up the language. That's really what it says. And then there is a whole book of codes and volumes of regulations and thousands of case laws that all say why there's an exception to that one rule.
Perfect. And the reason I brought it up was the average person, in my opinion, has no hope of being able to go through the, however many volumes it is, and then actually understanding it to the point where they could apply it to their business and to their personal taxes, which is why someone like yourself is so important.
Yeah, and believe me, I don't know the whole code or the whole law, but what I do know is I do know how to look at someone's situation, be able to say, there's got to be something we can do. Let me do some research. Let me tap into my experts, let me be that vehicle for you. And it's not just taxes on your personal tax return. Oftentimes, I work with big business owners who have multiple, corporations or multiple entities. And sometimes it's just about structuring some income in the LLC and some in the S Corp and some in the C Corp. Or, and then being able to look at your long-term retirement strategies and saying, pay the taxes today or actually create a way that you have tax-free income later. And so sometimes there's long and short-term strategies or business and personal strategies that really can be coordinated when you're working with a CPA financial planner like me, who can get your arms around your whole picture and really help you give you some really good advice and get control over the entire picture that you're building.
Awesome. So just moving back to karate for a second, that gave you a lot of discipline. Is there anything else that you got out of karate that helped you turn your life around? I mean, you have an amazing story.
Yeah, thank you. And it's not a past tense. I mean, I still practice karate multiple days per week. It's still a love of my life. And one of the several principles I talk about in business all the time in relating to how martial arts works. Number one is the spirit of endeavor. It's the ability to not give up and not quit. Now, I know that sounds so general and generic when we read about it all the time, but the truth is when you're going down your business path, you will hit roadblocks, and it does get hard. And oftentimes we think, oh, it's not working, I need to quit that. And I've done this myself. I'll change directions when it's not working. But in the long run, I look at business like getting my black belt in business. And when I first started this company in 2009, I was a white belt, and I was a white belt for many, many years in business. Even with decades of experience, I was still going through all the white belt maneuvers. And then, then I was like a green belt. And that means, a couple belts down the line, it means, okay, now you're not physically struggling just to show up. Now you've got some functionality happening, but you're still very clumsy and you're not very coordinated. And then as you move down the pathway, hone in your craft and start to develop a precision that is required for mastery. So whether it's your personal mastery, which martial arts helps me a ton by building my own confidence up and having the ability to stand strong and fight through all of the different things you have to fight through when you're building a business. And then being able to apply that to my business and say, hey, look, I'm not a black belt yet. Don't act like a black belt or you get your Right? So, it's
Right.
being humble and saying, this is right where I am, and I need persistency and consistency, and I just need to endeavor by working the path one day at a time, one moment at a time, 1 hour at a time. And that's how any white belt will ever become a black belt, and that's how any business owner will go from a startup into a real functional 6, 7, 8, 10-figure business.
I totally agree. Before we wrap up, I was wondering if you could share a story and change the names to protect the innocent of maybe one of the best examples you have of saving people money, because I know that oftentimes people hear, oh, the accountant, maybe they'll save me a few bucks here, a few bucks there. But I think you save people a lot more than they realize that they could be saving.
Yeah. Yeah, so several examples just within the last few weeks. For example, I was just posting on Facebook just the other day about a client who I'm getting a $96,000 refund back from last year's tax returns.
Wow.
Now, this is a case actually, which I find all the time, you'd be surprised, of literally an error from their prior tax preparer. Literally typed an extra 2 to create a $22,000 income into a $20,000 income, but nobody caught it. And that is a real incompetency for not catching such a huge error. So in that case, this client's getting $96,000 back. In another case where someone was audited, we get scared of the IRS letters. And so what happens is we don't do much with them, or we send them off to our ill-prepared tax preparer who doesn't know how to respond to them or doesn't respond to them. So this small, $50,000 tax bill now is $150 because of taxes and penalties and stuff like that. So I went back and was able to get another $100,000 back from another client just by going in and meeting with the auditor in the office and having great conversations and helping the auditor understand the issues. Now, not all of them are 6-figure refunds. I mean, even just last week, $1,000 refund, literally because there was duplicate payroll taxes being paid out of multiple companies. And so being able to go and say, hey, why don't you assign a paymaster for one of the companies and stop writing 6 checks to each executive, create one, and save all those Social Security taxes. And by the way, go back and get those refunds for the last 3 years. So, it doesn't have to be the big numbers. It can be in your taxes that we find it in, and it can also be in looking at your expenses and just asking honest questions like, why are you spending $20,000 in marketing? Is that actually paying off? What's your ROI on that, right? And then being able to say, hey, let's find you some ways of bringing in your clients, right? And that can find money that way too. So it's looking at your income, it's looking at your expenses, and it's looking at saving taxes and looking for those opportunities that you can't see when you're so close to it.
Brilliant. That's really exciting. Speaking of exciting, you're going on a cruise soon.
Yes, I'm looking forward to the cruise, to the opportunity to meet more entrepreneurs. I'm always inspired when I meet people who are a little further down the road. Maybe they're brown or black belts, and I'm also inspired to meet the people who are the orange belts and the yellow belts and the green belts, so to speak, in business. But the opportunity to get out of my comfort zone and brainstorm with other entrepreneurs is very valuable, especially as the CEO of my company. I need to step out and really mentor with the high-level CEOs of other companies and be able to create opportunities and find those partnerships that are amazing, right? Because all my partnerships I have now have come from masterminds, and the masterminds have connected me with the people that my values align with and my services align with. So real quick, I have a short example. I met at a mastermind a few years back. My partner now, he owns an insurance company. I own the tax company, and together we do cross promotions, and we also are building together an investment company, an investment firm that's really a triangle, a trifecta, so to speak, of a joint venture partnership. So it's really exciting to find those kinds of key players that fit right in your business on an event like a cruise, where you're really stepping away and meeting those inspiring entrepreneurs.
Awesome. And it's a great environment for doing that, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
So, you know, I always like to talk about it because I like my friends there too. So I'm going to put that out there, you know, like come with me because it is great to have a friend, to have other mentors and have people that you've either seen grown along the path or has grown along the path with you. And so I want to put that invitation out as well. And then anybody who's thinking about it, the value of being able to, you know, get out of your comfort zone and literally just have some fun with other entrepreneurs is just priceless for your business, especially if, you know, you're a solopreneur or a small company.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Angie. I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day to share this with us. And before we go, there's a couple things, but the first one is if you had like one tip that you could give to a white belt, what would that be?
I would say to use that spirit of endeavor because, you know, the path is going to be twice as expensive or take twice as long as you think it's going to be. And you're going to hit spots that you don't know how to deal with, and it's going to get defeating at some point. And so you have to look beyond where you are to remember where you're going and tap into the courage and the wisdom of people who have gone before you. And that is a really important point because I don't go to karate by myself. I go with my sensei who has 30 years of experience, who is correcting my hand. Is it too far left, too far right? Is it up, down? Like every little precise mark. Same thing when you're starting up. Surround yourself with the mentors of people who have gone there. Pay money for mentors too, not just, you know, your friends and family. In fact, they're probably, but really put that investment out because when you do, it changes the drive that you have. When you're paying a lot of money to get advice, you're going to take that advice a lot more seriously than if you're just chit-chatting at the coffee shop, right? So that to me, that's been a big value, and I highly recommend that. That helps with that spirit of endeavor to stay on course.
Great advice, Angie. Thank you. And if somebody is thinking, well, you know, maybe I have $100,000 in taxes that I shouldn't have to pay, how can they get a hold of you to find out?
Sure. Well, I encourage everybody to go to certifiedmoneyfinder.com, and on there's a little video about it, but also you can have the opportunity to sign up for a complimentary review of your tax return and a free Money Finders audit. And in that process, whether you have $100,000 of tax or $500,000 or $1 million, or if you're just getting started and you don't even know if you should be an S Corp or an LLC or whatever, come talk to me. I have a process. I'm generous with my time to help you get on the right path. So that's how you can sign up, and we'll schedule an appointment to do those things.
Great. Thank you very much, Angie. And thank you for joining us. And we'll see you next time. This is Scott Patton, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.